understand your role, know that you are replaceable, be humble, know the history so you can spring forward.
Gerry, thank you so much for coming by. This is absolutely an honor for me to have some time with you. It really is special. You mean a lot to me at many different levels. I heard you many, many years ago, and when you played, you inspired me not only with the deep pocket that you played, but just your sheer control over the instrument and your showmanship just sucked me in to want to play drums more.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, just great.
It's an honor to be here.
This is the sessions, we do this here, and we are so honored to have someone like yourself here, because your story and what you do is really important for others to hear.
Okay.
Where did it begin for you? Where did music enter your life?
Music entered my life, okay, my age, I'm 65 years old. So I'm a product of, in America, when the TV age happened. So I was born in 51, and the first that I remember was, there was a program that used to come on, Arthur Godfrey.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the Talent Scouts.
Yeah.
And I used to see that program. And I would see the drummer, and my parents, they said, well, actually maybe at 3.5 or 4, I was like banging on tables and things, and they got me some play drumsticks. And then I started like wearing the tables out, and my parents, God bless them, that they had the insight. That they said, well, you know, maybe he's got some talent. Yeah. So they took me, I was born in Philadelphia, so they took me to West Philadelphia Music Center. And I met this gentleman by the name of Abe Hoffman. And Abe Hoffman was like, he was like on the staff there, but he also was involved with some small classical orchestras. So anyway, he started out with like a double stroke roll. Like, can you emulate this? Yeah. And I started to emulate that.
How old are you then at that time?
I think about 4.5, 5 years old.
Amazing.
He said to my parents, you know, maybe he's got some talent, he's able to do this. And that's when it all started. And, you know, the Podemsky book. You know, I went, you know,
reading book. That's a tough book.
Just starting,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, you know, the rudiments, you know, the Haskell horror.
So you went through books. So you had teachers.
I went through books.
Oh, interesting. So at a young age,
at
you
a
had
young
that
age,
kind of a schooled guidance.
Like, that's how I started.
Absolutely excellent.
And it's funny, like I did all these books, and I you know, classical and all that, but I never studied like jazz or rock.
Really?
But it was from the foundation of like the rudimental drumming. And then I'd listen to these records that my dad had, and I would kind of work out like on a pad and what I was hearing, and then I got like a set. My dad brought me a set when I was like 9 or 10 years old. And then I just started, you know, figuring out, you know, what I was hearing and from the technique that I was developing.
So that absolutely amazes me, because you are in the pocket, one of the deepest pocket, exciting drummers to play.
Well, thank you.
And you've got insane technique, and you swing.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So how did that all come about?
The first drummer on record that I heard was Cozy Cole.
Oh, yeah.
Then came Art Blakey.
The Jazz Messengers.
You know, the Jazz Messengers, and just how he was playing. And there's one story that I remember, in that I was listening to Blues March so much. Yeah. And every time when Art would do this press roll, and I'd just stop, and then one time I started crying, and my dad said, Gerald, what's the matter? I said, Dad, I'll never be able to play a roll like that and sound like this. You just keep practicing, keep practicing. Okay, so then it was Art Blakey. I got to like Max Roach and Philly Joe Jones.
Billy Joe.
You know,
Oh, these guys played.
the kids, they don't, they have the technology where it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, so, I'm sitting there, it's like, move that arm and the needle
The
back,
arm
and
on
a little dust on there.
Vinyl records,
Vinyls.
moving the needle. Talk about old school, but you worked hard for that knowledge. I think that's part
I
of
worked
what it
hard.
was. Yeah.
I worked hard. Yeah, there were many days I wanted to go out and play basketball with the kids, the neighborhood kids, but
Yeah. So you heard all these great drummers, and you started, to a certain degree, taking from them ideas and playing along with them.
that's it.
Did you have any teachers that you were studying with at that time?
Yes, I was studying with, ironically, the daughter of Abe Hoffman. Her name is Elaine Watts. She's still alive. She's like, I think she's maybe 90 years old.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, she was aware that I was listening to, these jazz records, but then at the same time, we're still going through the stick control, and then she's starting to involve me with two mallets and things like that.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was like 14, I was accepted in a school in Philadelphia, Settlement Music School. And that's where I met this great percussionist, Alan Abel, from the Philadelphia
Alan
Orchestra.
Abel. Fantastic.
So...
Fantastic. Player and teacher, yeah.
Yes, I was, percussion ensembles, and he would, or sometimes the school would receive tickets from the Philadelphia Orchestra. So I saw Eugene Ormandy conducting.
The greats of the
like
greats.
that, it's like, wow.
So you learned theory and
So I learned theory and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and then at the same time, I'm still doing, the jazz thing, and then, the R&B, James Brown, and then, I started seeing like musicians, meeting musicians like in school who were like playing these dances, and, I put, connected the dots. It's like, if you play the dances, you'll earn money. Okay, so what do you need to do? Well, you need to listen to like all the James Brown stuff, all the Temptation stuff.
Yeah.
The Sam Cooke. You need to listen to all that. And if it's called upon for you to play, you got to nail it.
You own it, yeah. So you were going back from jazz stuff to now some of the popular stuff.
Yes, and doing the class, And
still doing the classical stuff.
Still doing the classical stuff. So. It wasn't a burden. It was just I was just soaking it in.
Yeah.
I didn't, okay. It was kind of, sometimes I wanted to, play with the neighborhood kids, but what was going on with me internally,
Right.
and I could hear the progress. And I forgot to mention, when I was 12. And this is at a time where, school systems, they had music programs.
Yeah, I hear you.
And it was at 12 years old, that's where I met Stanley Clarke.
That was my next question. When did you meet Stanley? The school music system, in what we grew up with, I'm close to your age, really helped in the development of bringing music, to you on a daily basis. As we lose that now, specifically in America, where those programs are being squashed, I can't imagine the damage that it will do to not give the opportunity that we had. You met Stanley. What happened when you met Stanley? Was he playing bass at that time and doing his thing?
Well, he was actually making the transition from cello to bass.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And we started talking, and he was telling me his story was similar in that he was studying classically, but he was listening to Charles Mingus and Scott LaFaro, and he was trying to emulate these bass players.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm doing the same thing with the drummers. Hey, what do you think, man? Maybe on a weekend or something, I'll come over to your house or something like that. Maybe let's see what happens. Let's just play. And so that was going on the weekends.
So here you had this. And you get together and jam, just the two of you?
Yeah, we just jam, and he'd have the records there, and he had some, some little speakers, and
You guys would do it.
We're playing along the records.
So this is so great because drums and bass, that relationship of what you were able to learn from two incredibly powerful minds. That's incredible to have at that young an age. What a beginning. Where did it go from there then? Did you guys start meeting other musicians?
We started meeting other musicians, and this is something that I don't know if many people know about, but I was like 16 years old. I've come along, and now I'm starting to play on these dances on the weekends. Stanley's is also there. One of the musicians who would be on these weekly weekend shows was a saxophone player by the name of Grover Washington. So Grover was there. Now, I got to tell you a little sidebar with Grover Washington.
Magic.
Okay, I'm like 16 years old. I finally got my driver's license. My dad told me to this one day, like, take me to work. He had a cigar. Hey, listen, take me to work. And go to your uncle, and he's got to get some things done with the car. Go get that done, and then pick me up at 3:30. Okay, so I do all that. Go to pick my dad up, and he's working at like a food distribution place. He's driving a forklift. So like that shift is over. See my dad, and I see this guy behind him. Dad, do you know what that is? Oh, that's Grover Washington. Yeah, Grover was doing a day gig.
Oh my gosh. At your dad's place?
Yeah.
And you see him there?
I see him there. Grover, hey, Jerry, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, that's your dad? Oh, yeah.
The connection begins.
The connection begins,
Yeah.
Yeah. And something that I must say about a bit of what's lacking now.
Yeah.
And that is with these programs and you're meeting different musicians. I think you start to develop people skills. Mm. And you have to talk to people. You got to communicate with people.
Yeah.
We are in the communications business.
Yeah. Which is what we do, yeah.
This is what we do.
Right.
This is how we perform. And not only in performance, but just to be able to talk with someone.
Right. Interesting. Interesting. How dangerous is it that generations rely and look down just at their phone and just communicate that way? And there's less socialization.
Less socialization.
Interesting point. So music, playing with music, it really develops high-level social skills.
I believe so.
Absolutely. Great point. So at this point now you're playing together, you're starting to, become more of a professional musician, you're in the thick of it. Where did it go from there?
Graduated high school. I didn't go directly into college. I just took a little, I don't know, maybe about 6 months off. Yeah. Then I started at the school. Now it's called the University of the Arts, but at that time it was called Philadelphia Music Academy.
Right. I know exactly where it is, yeah.
So Stanley's there. Sometimes I would see Alphonso Johnson. Sometimes and this gentleman would come through town. He was related to a guitarist, Reggie Lucas, who used to play with Miles Davis. His cousin, Anthony Jackson. Stanley's sister, Grace, was going with this bassist named Charles Fambro. So there were all these great bass players, around.
Yeah.
And again, as you said, this foundation of bass and drums is like, I use example, if you want to build a house, you don't build the roof first.
Good point. Good point. Foundation.
You got to build the foundation. Foundation.
Yeah.
So, playing with, knowing these bass players, playing with these bass players. it accelerated my development.
Boy, this makes
Just this understanding of
so much
of you know, this role that you play.
Yeah.
And you know, you have to interact with the bassist. You have to interact with everyone. But and again, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
You listen to other people. Yeah. Oh, little call and response. Oh, you kind of answer a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. This conversation that's ongoing, and you know, as I see it now, yeah, when people come to see you play, they're watching your conversation with the other musicians, and they are witness to this.
That's the magic of the energy of being on that stage.
That's the energy.
Boy, it really makes so much sense now when I think of your playing and how I've heard you, that you have that foundation that you lock in immediately. These guys that you met at this is fate that delivered, you know, these great players at the same time. How powerful that is.
You're like,
Absolutely, man.
okay.
So was there a time when you started to travel with the band at all, and you got out of?
Well, I started,
Philly?
you know, Stanley and I, we would travel from Philadelphia to New York, and you know, we would go to some of the clubs, like, you know, like Stanley and I, we saw that that very first Tony Williams Lifetime with John McLaughlin and Larry Young.
Oh, my God.
You know, that was like, oh man.
Life changing. Yeah. Life.
Yes, life changing.
Yeah.
We would go to see Calvin Hill and, God rest his soul, Alphonse Mouzon with McCoy Tyner.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
God.
Beautiful music.
Beautiful music.
So you started taking all this in, checking out these guys.
Taking all this in, and I was aware that even though I would do some R&B gigs or some jazz gigs, I was aware they're different.
Yeah.
So don't cross them.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, you know, without knowing, it's like stay in this lane. Stay in this lane. You know. So, you know, it was all, you know, okay, this jazz, it's got this groove. This R&B, you know, this James Brown and the Temptations and the Miracles and Stevie Wonder, it's got this groove. You got to understand that.
Boy, but that takes a certain level of discipline. Where do you think you got your discipline from?
I don't know. Maybe it just came from, you know, just from the listening, and I can hear certain things played, and it's like, oh, I know who that is. You know, that's Philly Joe. Oh, that's Max Roach.
Right.
Oh, you know how Max Roach, he would, you know, his motion on the ride cymbal. It's like I could just hear this rhythm, and then in Elvin Jones, and it's like how he, you know, he would attack, and then in Tony Williams, like how he was just like floating.
Yeah.
Floating.
Yeah.
And then you got like Benny Benjamin doing all these things with Motown
In
and
pocket,
stuff like
yeah,
that,
right,
and in the
yeah,
pocket,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Eventually, you know, the James Gadsons, and you know, it just kind of goes, you know, of course, Steve Gadd, you know.
So listening has been a part of your life straight throughout. I mean, what you've done with all the different listening that you've done. That's amazing. Are there any groups at that time that you focused on more than others?
I know it's going to come to the question. It's like, okay, where did all that, you know, with the spinning of the sticks? Okay, that kind of came from seeing some Duke Ellington things, and I'm watching Sonny. And it's like he's doing
Sonny Payne.
Sonny Payne. He's spinning these sticks. Then I saw like clips like at that time on CBS. They'd show clips of like a Lionel Hampton.
Hampton was a great juggler.
He was a great juggler.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and then it's like Keith Moon with the Who. It's like, oh man, wow. So I'm soaking all that in. Now, one thing that I did mention, like my dad, you know, he would take me to sporting events, and in this case, he used to take me to see the Philadelphia Eagles because he loved the football player Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed as that every year when I go and see, every time he'd take me to see Jim Brown, I'd see the Reading Buccaneers drum and bugle corps.
Interesting.
Man, these guys were doing backstick, and then it's like
Flipping sticks and turning
man,
it.
Oh,
How interesting.
you know, so it's, wow.
So now you open up to the whole rudimental and drum corps mentality.
Exactly. So it's like all the stuff is, I'm internalizing all this, and yeah.
But I mean, how you manipulate the stick, and I had the chance of performing a few times with Lionel Hampton, and he'd sit on the drums and play sometimes a couple tunes, and he still had that ability of being able to flip these sticks. What control that takes, because you never lose the groove, ever.
No, you can't, you know. Yes, it visually it looks great, but when you can do it and you don't lose the time, you know, you keep the groove going.
Yeah.
And I think everybody just loves like a little show, you know, just like.
It's entertainment. I mean,
It's entertainment.
At the highest level. It really is, because it's exciting to watch, because at no point in your playing have you altered the purpose of the song. So
Serve the music.
Absolutely.
Serve the music.
Absolutely. That's always been your theme. Certainly, absolutely. With Stanley now, did you continue doing things with Stanley and some of the guys?
Well, Stanley, he kind of got all of a sudden in college. Then people started finding out about Stanley, so he went up to New York.
Yeah.
He was playing like with Horace Silver. He was playing with Art Blakey. So there was a bass player that I met in high school, and he later came to college. His name was John Lee, and we were doing some gigs in Philadelphia, and he knew Herbie Hancock. I think today is Herbie's 77th birthday.
How beautiful. Beautiful.
So we meet Herbie Hancock, and John asks him, he says, "Do you know of any gigs happening?" We're still in college, and he says, "Well, you know what? I know of a guy who lives in Holland, who's a flute player. He's a pretty good jazz flute player, and you may want to get in contact with him. His name is Chris Hensey. And here, I'll give you his address and phone number and stuff like that." So John takes it upon himself to reach out to Chris Hensey, and Chris responds and he says, "Yeah, I'm actually, kind of interested to hear what you're doing, and maybe just kind of make a little demo thing." So I played on the demo.
So he was where? Where was he located?
He was located in Holland.
So you had to fly there?
Well, we didn't fly there. It's like, but with the address. So, we made something on a cassette tape.
And just put that together?
And put that together and send it over there.
Interesting.
And he responded and says, "Yeah, that's, it sounds nice." So, Oh, by the way, tell the drummer, I like his style, so, So, here's this dilemma. It's like I'm in my third year in college. I'm playing jazz gigs around Philadelphia. Stanley's kind of gone, but that's okay. I'm making my bones.
Yeah.
So what do I want to do? Well, I really want to play. There are no orchestra gigs. No, that's not happening. Okay, I'm going to take the risk. Mom, Dad, I got an opportunity to go. I got an opportunity to go to Holland to play with a jazz flute player. My mom was crying. My dad, "Gerald, are you sure you want to do this?" "Yeah, Dad, This is July, August of '72. I had saved up some money. I took the risk. Flew over. Ended up spending a little more than 2 years in Holland.
Interesting. That's great.
My parents, they came to check me out, like in December of '73. They saw what I was doing. They were very proud of me.
That is a beautiful
that's pretty, coming from a middle class neighborhood, You know, and at that time, it's like, you know, I didn't think of it in this way at that time, but it's like they've made these sacrifices for me. They've been paying for these lessons. I'm not even thinking that they're paying for the lessons. It's like, I'm just soaking it all up.
Yeah.
So now here I am in Holland. My parents come to see me, and it's like, then I started to understand, you know, that the phrase of parental pride.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
Well, but you earned that, man. You put the time into it, and it took an amazing amount of courage to make that choice and do that.
It certainly did.
That's following your instinct. That's following your dream. That's making it happen. That's perseverance. That's all these qualities, which is what this next generation needs to really hear about, of what you went through. That's fantastic.
So I took that risk, spent a couple of years there, you know, just coming from, you know, America and just being in Europe, and it's like people speaking different languages and, you know, different food and things like that. Wow. Okay. This is great. So now I come back in like October of '74, and while I was there, I mean, I met a lot of European musicians, and in this case, I met this a violinist, Michael Urbaniak, who's a violinist from Poland.
Yeah.
And this is the time of like jazz fusion.
Yeah.
So now he's in New York. I get in contact with him. We started playing. He had his wife Ursula Dudziak, who was like a Polish version of Flora Purim, keyboardist from Poland, Władek Golgowski, and so I'm with the group, and then they started to get on these shows, like of fusion shows, where, and again this time it's like I'm with Michael Urbaniak, who's opening for Larry Coryell, and Larry Coryell is opening for Return to Forever. And these shows.
Yeah. You're right.
We're playing these colleges,
You're right in the thick of it.
So I'm kind of like, in retrospect, I'm in the thick of it. Well, I was with Michael for about a year, and I became friends with Alphonse Mouzon, and Alphonse is, he had been playing with McCoy Tyner, and then he started with like Weather Report. And then he's going to go solo. So he leaves Larry Coryell. So I ended up taking Alphonse's place. Okay, so now I'm playing with Larry Coryell in the 11th house. So now I'm moving up the ladder, and there were a couple shows where Larry opened for Frank Zappa, and I met Terry Bozzio.
How mind-boggling was that? Mind-opening.
Bozzio, I hope you see this. You kicked my booty, but I loved it. So then the next thing, Stanley decides he's going to do like a solo album, and he does his first solo album, and he's got Tony Williams playing on there, Lopsy Lou and stuff like that. Wow. 1976, Stanley said, man, I'm going to do this album, School Days.
Yeah.
Jerry, I want you to play on it. Okay. So I played on 2 songs. I played on School Days and the song The Dancer.
Yeah.
Billy Cobham is on there.
Yeah.
Steve Gadd is on there.
Yeah.
1976. It was another time, but it was a magic time.
This was the who's who.
It was a magic. It was a magic time.
And School Days. My gosh, I think about how much that meant to me and growing up, how powerful that was and how exciting it was. We listened to it 100 times with my friends, and to be inspired by all what was going on with there. I mean, you were in this magical massaging of brilliant musical minds.
Really? Billy Cobham, Lenny White, Steve Gadd, Terry Bozzio, Alphonse Mouzon.
These are the names. One thing about this, a conversation like this here for this generation to listen to. These are names they have to research. They have to go back, they got to Google them, they can go to drummerworld.com and listen to it on that and find out who these people are, because these were movers and shakers in the industry at that time.
They were the movers and shakers.
At that time, but they've continued. You have continued to do that, Gerry. What drives you? What drives you to continue?
This deep love of music, and all I can say is when it lines up, however it lines up, and then you see the faces of the musicians, and you see the faces of the people. Yeah. That's priceless. Another one of these priceless moments.
Yeah.
And just realizing that, being in this position, it's a gift. It's a gift from God. Well, I'm fulfilling, as my dad said. Well, he would say many times, "Well, son, you're just fulfilling your divine contract." And now, I get it. Yeah. That's what I did. This is what I'm doing.
It's amazing because, even playing concerts with legends like Stevie Wonder and Diana Ross, these are huge names.
Yep.
And they are movements in culture, in life, in everything.
Yes.
And here you are driving the force of what those. I mean, you've had great gigs. Are there any performances that stand out that just hit you at a point where you said, "I can't believe I'm here"?
There was like 2 years where I was performing with Corea, Return to Forever. This was after the Lenny White and Al Di Meola period, and it was the big band, and God rest his soul, Joe Farrell was playing saxophone. So I was doing these performances, and sometimes Chick would do like a solo piece, and I wasn't even playing then, but I'm just watching. It was like, God, I can't imagine, man. I'm in this. I'm in this.
You were in the middle of it.
I was in the middle of this. It's like, oh God. Another moment is between '83 and '86, and in this case, it specifically was in 1984, and I'm playing the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, and I'm playing with Lionel Richie. Okay. Okay.
That must have been just overwhelming.
Yeah, that was like, wow. One of those moments. Next thing, probably like in 1988, I'm playing with George Benson for like 3 years.
Yeah. Gig after gig. That just had
these gigs, yeah. And then it was from George to Stevie Wonder. And it's like you're playing, and it's like, man, this guy I listened to. I was trying to play all his stuff when I was growing up, and now I'm playing behind Stevie Wonder. With Stevie, he's making like these little head movements or signs, and they all mean something. It's like something may happen. Get ready, and then, all of a sudden, Stevie would just like cut the band, stop the band, and then he would engage the audience. People love this. Okay, now, you may have a set list, but if he wants to do something else, what are you going to tell him? What are you going to tell him? You're not going to tell him much. And he's not even going to announce this. He's just going to go into the song.
And do it. You got to be there.
You got to be there. And again, with another great bassist, Nathan Watts.
Nate, man, it's just great. Great person, great player. And he's been Stevie's MD for like 40 years.
Yes.
A long time,
yes.
Yeah. But another great player. But bass, you seem to have locked in with bass guitar players, probably more than anybody else in this industry. How do you organize all this here? From a business standpoint, you are a global business. So how do you organize dates and calls, and how do you balance this all?
Somehow, with those people skills and just engaging people, and hey, can you give me a little heads up? Not speaking to the artists, but it's like whoever's in management.
Right.
What's coming down the line?
So you're trying to pull information out.
I'm trying to pull information out.
Yeah.
And just be engaging. they see that, how I am as I'm performing. With all these people, it's like I'm representing myself.
Yeah.
I'm representing this artist. I'm representing my country.
Right.
So it's like, give me this information so I can find out where I need to be, when I need to be. I need to be there on time. I need to show up. What homework do I need? Do I need to explore tracks? I do my homework. How many people from all these situations, I've thought about this many times, how many drummers would love to be in my position?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like, well, if I want to continue, I need to do.
So you have to be organized.
You got to be organized.
You've got to have the people skills, as you said. So you've got to be a good listener. You've got to be compassionate to understand what they're feeling.
Yes, it's like, I'm a good listener. It's like, okay.
Gerry, this is an amazing story. In closing, if you had to give a message to the next generation of young kids, that you could leave with them something that they can grab onto, that they can understand and learn and prepare for them to have a career in music, what would you say to them?
Understand your role. Know that you are replaceable. Be humble. Sharpen your people skills. Practice. Know the history so you can spring forward.
Absolutely perfect.
And serve the music.
Serve the music. That has always been your theme, and you have always done that. I am so impressed by Gerry, you as a drummer, you as a musician, you as a person. Your humility and your drive and your kindness has always been there. And I'm so honored to be in the same industry as you, because you are such a great role model.
Well, thank you.
I thank you, because the next generation, to see someone like yourself, to learn from and to listen to your wisdom, this is the power of who you are, Gerry. Wow. Thank you so much.
Love you, Dom.
I love you too.
Love you, man.
Beautiful. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much.
Thank you.